De-dollarization is a growing global trend. It means countries are trying to use the US dollar less. For decades, the dollar has been the world's main currency. It's used for international trade, and it's held by central banks as a reserve. Now, some nations want to change this. They're seeking to reduce their reliance on America's currency. This is honestly a significant shift in global finance. The implications could be far-reaching for everyone, and we're watching this develop carefully. It signals a potential change in economic power. Why do countries want this change? Well, several reasons exist. One major factor is national sovereignty. Relying heavily on the dollar gives the US influence, and this influence can extend to foreign policy. Some nations feel this limits their independence. They want more control over their own economic destinies, and using other currencies, or even their own, offers this. This desire for autonomy is a powerful motivator, pushing countries to explore alternatives. Financial independence is a key goal for many. Key countries are leading this de-dollarization push. China is a prominent example. It wants its currency, the yuan, to play a bigger role. Russia has also actively reduced dollar usage, especially after facing Western sanctions. Brazil, India, and South Africa, as part of the BRICS group, are also exploring options. They see benefits in a less dollar-centric system. These are not small economies, and their collective actions can have a real impact. Their motivations vary, but often overlap. This movement is not happening overnight. The US dollar is deeply embedded in the global system. Its dominance is built on decades of trust and use. However, the conversations are getting louder, and the actions are becoming more concrete. Understanding this trend is crucial. It helps us see the changing dynamics of global power. The world is looking at financial alternatives now, and this exploration itself is a noteworthy development. We really must analyze what this means for the future. US sanctions are a powerful catalyst for de-dollarization. When the US imposes sanctions, it often restricts access to the dollar, and this can cripple a nation's economy. Countries like Russia and Iran have experienced this directly. They've been cut off from dollar-denominated trade and finance, which has forced them to find other ways to transact. Other nations watch these events and frankly worry they could be next. This fear drives them to seek alternatives, and they want to reduce their vulnerability. Changes in global politics also play a big role. The world is becoming more multipolar, with power shifting away from a single dominant nation. Emerging economies like China and India are gaining influence, and they want the global financial system to reflect this new reality. They see the dollar's dominance as a relic of a past era. A multipolar world, they argue, needs multiple major currencies. This geopolitical shift underpins the de-dollarization narrative. It's all about creating a more balanced global order. Countries are using several strategies to de-dollarize. One common method is bilateral trade in local currencies. For example, China and Russia now conduct much of their trade using the yuan or ruble, and India is also settling some oil payments in rupees. This bypasses the need for US dollars entirely, reducing transaction costs and strengthening their own currencies. This direct trade approach is gaining traction globally. It's a practical step towards diversification. Other strategies include increasing gold reserves. Central banks are buying gold at a rapid pace, since gold is seen as a safe asset, free from any single country's control. Nations are also developing new payment systems. China has its cross-border interbank payment system, or CIPS, while Russia has its system for transfer of financial messages, or SPFS. These are alternatives to SWIFT, the dollar-based global messaging network. Furthermore, central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, are being explored. These could facilitate cross-border payments without using the dollar. The US dollar remains the dominant global currency. Most international trade is still invoiced in dollars, and the majority of foreign exchange reserves held by central banks are dollars. This is due to the size and strength of the US economy, as well as America's deep and liquid financial markets. The dollar offers unmatched convenience and security for now. However, other currencies are seeing increased use. The euro is a significant international currency, and the Chinese yuan's role is growing, albeit slowly. Its share in global payments is rising. The dollar's entrenched position provides it with strong network effects. The more people and institutions use it, the more useful it becomes. This makes it difficult for other currencies to challenge it directly. For a currency to become a global reserve, it needs wide acceptance. It requires convertibility and stability, and it also needs the backing of a large open economy with robust legal institutions. The US currently offers this combination more convincingly than others, and honestly, that's a high bar for any potential challenger. A world where the dollar's influence significantly wanes carries risks. Such a transition could be disruptive and might lead to increased financial instability. If multiple currency blocks emerge, global trade could become more complex. Exchange rate volatility between major currencies might increase, creating uncertainty for businesses and investors. Managing a truly multipolar currency system would require new levels of international cooperation, and this cooperation is not always easy to achieve. The transition period itself could be fraught with challenges. Countries attempting to de-dollarize also face significant hurdles. Their own currencies may lack the liquidity of the dollar. Full convertibility can be a concern for currencies like the yuan. Political stability and transparent governance are also crucial. These factors build trust in a currency. Without this trust, attracting global users is difficult. The path to a less dollar-dependent world is not straightforward. It's filled with economic and political complexities. These are serious considerations for policymakers globally. If the dollar loses significant influence, the US economy could face changes. The US currently enjoys what is called an exorbitant privilege. It can borrow money more cheaply because of global demand for dollars, and it can also finance its large trade deficits more easily. A decline in the dollar's status could diminish these advantages. US borrowing costs might rise and the value of the dollar could fall. This would impact American consumers and businesses, and inflation could become a greater concern. This exorbitant privilege also allows the US to fund its budget deficits. It helps maintain America's global military presence. A weaker international role for the dollar could constrain US foreign policy options, and the effectiveness of US sanctions might also be reduced. If countries have viable alternatives to the dollar, sanctions lose some of their bite. This is a strategic consideration for Washington, so the economic impacts are therefore closely tied to geopolitical ones. This is, honestly, a complex interplay of factors. So, what does the future hold? A complete displacement of the dollar seems unlikely in the near term. The global financial system is vast and complex, and inertia is a powerful force. However, a gradual shift towards a more multipolar currency world is plausible. We might see a system where the dollar remains important, but other currencies, like the yuan and the euro, could play larger roles. Regional currency arrangements might also gain prominence, and this would be a significant evolution. The dollar will likely remain a leading currency for some time. Its strengths are substantial, but the trend towards diversification is clear. Countries are actively seeking to reduce their dependencies. The world of 2025 is already witnessing these moves. The ultimate outcome will depend on many factors. These include US economic policy, the development of credible alternatives, and, crucially, the shifting tides of global geopolitics. The journey towards a new currency landscape has begun, and its pace and destination are still unfolding.